Harry's wife. Pissy pants. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Well, the press reportage of the disclosures that Harry has been making as he engages in the self-destructive behaviours associated with Spare has gone to a further low. As reported in the Daily Star, and they would report it, of course, there is an article by George Matthias that is headlining as follows. Harry recalls moment he wet his pants just hours before a first date with Harry's wife. Surprising revelations from Prince Harry continue to filter out to the world after his salacious tell-all memoir was accidentally published in Spain. The latest excerpt reveals the prince was caught short only hours before he was due to meet his future wife for their first date, and he ended up wetting himself. The Duke described how he was out at sea, as opposed to now being all at sea, for a racing competition on a boat that had no toilet when the unfortunate accident occurred. Now, this perhaps highlights just what a dumb fuck this chap is. There you are, on a boat. What's all around you? Water. The sea. Given the fact that he has no problem at stripping off in Las Vegas for strip poker, that he has no problem at being found embedded in the snow with his todger out so he gets frostbite of the knob, you'd have thought it wouldn't be a problem for Harry to whip out the old manhood and take a leak over the side of the boat. Indeed, given the fact that the boat had no toilet, I should imagine that this was standard protocol, standard operating procedure if you felt like the call of nature. It's not like he's needing to take a dump. He needs a wee. But old dimwit, rather than actually decide, oh yeah, I'll just piss over the side and fill up the ocean a little bit with my contribution, I'll allow myself to wet myself. I mean, seriously. The disclosure states, reliving the experience, he said, all I cared about was jumping into the water, washing off the pee from my trousers, and getting back to London as fast as possible, where I was about to start my real race. Why didn't you just take off your kecks, jump into the water, do a wee, even if you were worried about people seeing little Harry? Nobody would have known what you're doing. Then you can climb back in. But not only have you wet yourself, idiot, you then jump in with your trousers on, which presumably are going to take quite some time to dry off. I mean, the dim-wittedness of this man just keeps increasing. And moreover, the dim-wittedness of course, allowing such a disclosure. In actual fact, to my mind, the fact that he's weed himself, well, that makes you look a bit of a klutz. And the fact that you are telling the world that you did so. But in certain instances, it could be, for instance, that you're unwell and you need a wee and there's nowhere to wee and you wet yourself. But here, there was no need for it to happen. He could have whipped off his kecks, jumped in the ocean, jumped in the sea, had a wee, climbed back on, towelled himself off, pulled his kecks, pulled his trousers on, and he would have been okay. Or, no need to even get into the ocean. Just stand there, whip out little Harry, pee into the ocean, as many, many other people will have done. But no, he stands there. Oh, there's no toilet. Oh, what am I going to do? Oh, I've weed myself. Oh, it's happened again. Oh, if only Mummy were here, she'd have told me what to do. He really does come across as useless, doesn't he? That's all that the Daily Star has to say. And there are so many questions. Why on earth didn't you take a leak? why did you then decide that you should jump in and wash this off? And furthermore, why on earth do you think this is appropriate to disclose it? Of course, him now being the Prince of Pissing Pants, to add to his other many names, is no surprise, and just subjects himself to further ridicule, and also stacks up with the fact that his wife simply doesn't care, and also she isn't bothered about how ridiculous he looks, both in terms of, one, wetting himself, two, wetting himself in circumstances where actually he didn't need to, and three, the necessity of feeling that he has to tell everybody this. She, of course, isn't looking out for his interests. She hasn't. And it'll be interesting as I make my way through Spare to find more context to this incident. Perhaps he explains why he couldn't. Maybe, for instance, he'd read somewhere, or Harry's wife had told him, that the ammonia from his pee-pee was dangerous to dolphins, and therefore, as a consequence of his pseudo-environmental credentials, he didn't want to take a leak in the sea. Or perhaps Harry's wife had frightened him by saying that there are rising water levels and much of the earth is going to be underwater soon if we're not careful. So the last thing you should be doing, Harry, is taking a leak into the sea and increasing those levels. One could imagine the dimwit believing such nonsense as that. But it'd be interesting once I get to that point in Spare during my read-through to find out what actual context there is for it, if any, so we can learn more about what was going through his pea brain. As it is, another ridiculous disclosure that makes him look stupid, and of course, he's once again not being protected by anybody, and his wife is perfectly content for this kind of nonsense to be put out there. Even though he, of course, is a manifestation of her because he's bolted on. When it comes to the issue of her choosing to hang him out to dry, that's acceptable. So if somebody else was to take the mick out of him, that impacts upon her because he is, in effect, a representative of her. If he does something good, she'll acquire it. She'll take it, character trait acquisition. But where she decides that she can allow his stupidity to be shown writ large to the world, because it's her decision, she, in those circumstances, essentially cuts him adrift for that issue, and he isn't a manifestation of her. Indeed, she does it in order to ensure that she isn't tainted by his stupidity, and, of course, it enables her to keep a distance between him and her, and it shows the absence of emotional empathy that she has for him. Another disclosure, and this time all about Harry and his pissy pants. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.